Hello and welcome to May 18th, 2022. I'm Kurt and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. I do this each and every day, not long after waking up, clean up, do my journal entry, and then I do this. It's interesting, I'm starting to do my journal entry like snap right after I get up. So I literally get out of bed, still haven't changed out of my night stuff, walk over, turn on the lamp. It's nice because I've got that old roll top desk that I found at the side of the road, got for free. I turn on the lamp underneath that thing so it casts a nice soft glow. I keep the journal open all the time. I've got an old desert rock holding the page open. And I just grab the pen and start writing. I don't even know as the pen touches the paper what the first words are going to be. And then I always flow out a paragraph. And it's not even hard. It's like the muse was waiting there for me. All it took was the touching of the tip of the pen to the page to get it started. You know, taking a lesson from Dr. Johnson, I try not to make the contents mundane. You know, I don't talk about what I want to eat for breakfast. I do talk about the things that happened that were noteworthy in the moment. Like, so this morning I wrote about Harold, my neighbor. You know, they call me Flash. He didn't do that yesterday. I ran into him yesterday. He seemed preoccupied, mildly upset. You know what? It's funny. It wasn't even upset. It was disconcerted. That's the word. He was disconcerted. Just a second. Oh, and I do get a circle for yesterday. I did my journal, made the video, and I read more than 10 pages. He didn't even really stop to talk to me, Harold. You know, I say that he'll cross the street to say hi to me, and I started to cross the street to go say hi to him, as I said I would do, but he kept on moving. It wasn't really a deliberate move. It was kind of a shuffle, like he had places to be, and he did. He had to get to the mailbox. And the reason he was upset was that the mail was late. And how do I know the mail was late? Because he told me. And he told me he was upset. And he told me that he'd just been at the mailbox 30 minutes prior. I wish I'd asked him if he had an important letter that he was waiting for, or package. My mind filled in the blanks, as minds can do. And I added a whole superstructure of reason for his haste. I could be wrong, but I think it's because he had nothing better to do. He has nothing better to do throughout the day. I'm reinforced in this idea slightly by the next door neighbors, another old couple. Like I said, it's all old people here. I mean, it's a retirement community that we unwittingly moved into. No, there's no 55 plus, but there's no 55 plus at the entrance to our community. It's one of those communities that has a sign, you know, like Back to the Future, you know, whatever it was, the name of that community that Marty lived in. Ours is one of those, and it's definitely you know, the only kids you'll ever see here are kids like Emily's age. So anyway, my next door neighbor, they have a habit every day. They walk to the mailbox together. At first I thought that was because they're such a cute couple and they love each other so much. But I don't think I'm trespassing on gossip. I think I am trespassing on gossip, so I'll stop. I have good reason to suspect that they go together too, because it gives them something to do. even though it's a short walk for us, a little longer for Harold. And I went back and I at home I talked to Yumiko about it. I said, we have to guard to prepare and then guard ourselves in retirement to have more to look forward to than the delivery of the mail. Let's look at yesterday otherwise. It was a good day. The challenge yesterday was that this is a slow week at work. The challenge yesterday was keeping busy and focused. And I did. I kept on, I did all my meetings, and I think I had 5 meetings. None of them were very hard. One of them was really good. The technical team meeting went really well. Even one meeting like that is a win for the day. And then I took on a challenge. I organized some things, and I kept things in order, and I kept everything moving forward. Yet I had a tinge of guilt, like I should have been busier, and it's a restless thing. It's not worthwhile. Yesterday was a fine day. If I was a factory worker at an old Ford plant, I would have been at my station. It would have been a day to have been at my station, stamping out, trunk lids at my trunk lid stamping machine all day long. That's what it was. It was great, but somehow I'm always feeling like I could have done more. Kurt, you'll have your chance. Things will get bad again. The cycle. Oh, speaking of that, the cycle, I was telling Yumiko and Emily yesterday how the cycle of the day, I've told you about this before, because I was enjoying Yumiko's dinner last night. It was so good. Oh, gee. She just always, her meals are always so good. And we were sitting there at the table, and I told Yumiko and Emily, I said, my day it's not really like a bell-shaped curve or anything like that. It's like an arc. It swings up from the toughest part of my day is just when I start work. That's 7:30 a.m. 7:30 a.m. is kind of the low point. It's like, not really. Full day of work ahead of me. 5 meetings to do. Here we go. Roll up the sleeves. And then from there, once I throw myself in and get started, that immediately dissipates away. As long as I can keep busy and keep on it, the day passes well. Steadily getting better as I chug and get things past me. I hard work and one more thing done and one more meeting under the under the past. And by the end of the day, I feel really good. By 4:30 when I stop work, I'm feeling good. I had a good productive day. And then an hour and a half, 2-hour walk with the dogs, and then I'm home, and then it's dinner time. And I have a beer, and I sit there with my family, and we have this great meal on the table, and that's this high point. It's a strong finish every day. That's more, I look forward to that more than going out to dinner. There's no restaurant we could go to that would be more, I would enjoy more than that. Okay. I didn't really have any challenges yesterday to consider, except the challenge of just, the usual challenge at work of just keeping focused. And I have a list. A lot of people do that. I keep my list and I go through the list. Bam, 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 bam. All right. Well, let's do the Good Life meditation for today. 7 objectives and 30 principles. Objective number 1 is to be always ready to die. And not just saying that, but actually being in that attitude and perspective. To be able to go out like Seneca, should the emperor demand. The second objective is to make good and effective use of my time. To not let my days be futile or in vain, even though they are futile and in vain. in fact. The next is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. To have my tools at the ready to live well in pursuit of good living. The next objective is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become a person who doesn't get behind my feelings, stays in front of them. You can say I wear a mask, and I do. And that's just fine. I present to the world a mature countenance. I am not subject to whimsy. No longer, at least. The next is to perform good actions, just to do good things along the day. Next is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, so that I'm staying within the bounds of what I can touch, at least in terms of my expectation. There was this farm farm structure in Japan, I remember, encountered on a mountain road. It couldn't have been more than 30 feet off the road. Yet somehow the forest had so utterly enveloped it. It was a black building made of wood, deep black, like, the old type that they did back in the day when they would charcoal the outside of the wood to make it resistant to pests, and I guess it would absorb moisture or something like that. It was, had the effect that charcoal had. So it was a very old building, and it was high up on a mountain road that was largely abandoned, a road that went nowhere. And I didn't know that at the time. It was my first time walking on it, and I saw that building just up ahead, peeking out. Couldn't have been 50 feet away at that point because I was down the road. And as I got closer on this old farm road, the building was just there. Like I said, it was 30 feet, 10 meters off the road. And I could see the structure and the eaves and the dark wooden paneling on the outside. I knew what it was. It was a farmer's shed, a big one. And it would have served a green tea farm that was also swallowed by the forest, perhaps behind the shed. Normally, in Japan, I would take a closer look at such places. I never went in them. It was a rule of mine in Japan when I was exploring in Japan, not to trespass. So if the farm appeared abandoned, I could walk on the farm. But if there were buildings on there, I would just peek into open doors and windows. I wouldn't go inside. Very, very rarely did I ever actually do that. I remember there was that one house that way up in the mountains that the roof was collapsing in. I did step inside that one just a little bit. But for the most part, I never did. But true limits, true opportunity. I'm the kind of guy that would crawl through the bushes and brambles and stuff like that. I mean, I had no problem. I didn't need no stinking trail to go close. There was no way to get to that building. This was because it was wrapped in a forest embrace, so smothering and so complete that I would have needed a machete to get through. Granted, this was summertime, and this was the height of, the danger period with the giant hornets that, are the killers of Japan, that have their nests sometimes in the ground, that you can be easily disturbed and they'll come out and swarm and kill you. This is also the time for the boars that are in the underbrush. The mamushi, pith viper snakes are also out. It's not a smart thing to to, to go clambering in the underbrush and that. No, not to mention the giant huntsman spiders the size of small dinner plates that are literally everywhere. So I had some reason it wasn't just a green tangle that I would have to wade through. It would have been also the the defenders of giant spiders and hornets and boars and um, you know, katydids, with mandibles the size of small scissors. So that dissuaded me also. But so an effective barrier and all that, right? I looked at that thing standing. It was there right before me, probably chock full of tools. And I thought, and I wouldn't take anything, of course. But it'd be interesting to poke my head in an open door and see. And I realized that is as practically as distant to me as an island, 2 miles off the coast of Japan. You know, I could probably get there if I really tried, but it's not worth the risk. It's in terms of true limits and true opportunity. It's a true limit. I'm not going to see that shed. And I had that shed's photo somewhere. And every time I look at that photo, I remember that although it was right before me, it was at such a distance. And that's the purpose of remembering my true limits and my true opportunity, so that I can be the same thing in other venues and circumstance. For example, at work, I had someone ask me, it was just last week, if I would have any interest in going further, going further at work. And I didn't really I gave a Japanese answer, a very roundabout answer without answering, because I didn't want, it's kind of my own thoughts. It's kind of like asking what's in my private room. I'll keep that to myself, my ambition. But I'll let you know that largely I don't have that ambition anymore. That's a true limit self-imposed, right? I don't really want to go, even though I may have opportunity to go further in my career. I'm pretty much done. It's another true limit, even though there may be a true opportunity, and they may overlap, kind of. And that limit comes of having come to know myself, and knowing my inside capabilities and my inside, what's the word? Failings, perhaps? Restrictions? What's the opposite of aptitude? Capacities? Also, it's not all me, right? I mean, in such things, I also have to think about my partner. And if I put myself into a position where I will struggle, even though I may succeed, it may come at an undue cost at home. Again, with the limit and the opportunity. It's something that I can see, like that shed again. Maybe a promotion at work might be just, 10 meters away. Right there. I can see it. I could do that. But in fact, the brambles and the spiders and the hornets and the boar and the katydids with the mandibles the size of small scissors might cause me to reconsider. I guess that's the nature of this particular objective, the objective of recognizing my true limits and my true opportunities, so that I make decisions and pursue options or opportunities that are a better fit for myself and my family and the remaining time. Next is, last objective is to just do one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately. To simply not multitask. Okay, now my 30 principles. These are: 1, the principle of war, to always be fighting against what I think is true. 2, the principle of reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt. which are the frame of mind that I maintain in pursuing that aforementioned war. I want to be a man who is honest and objective. Honest with myself and others, of course, and objective, and looking at things as clearly as I possibly can, wiping the mist from my eyes. And I want to be a deep, harsh skeptic. Because I know how easily I'm fooled. Especially when I jump on board. That's why I have to go after the stuff I already believe. Because it's once I've jumped on board that's when I'm really vulnerable. Even if in the moment that I jump on board, the trolley may be going in some place toward in the direction of someplace true. And directions change. So I have to be on the guard, ready to hop off that trolley at a moment's notice. Holy crap, we're no longer going to Hill Street. We're on our way to Fisherman's Wharf. I'm off. Number 3 is the homunculus, the reminder that I don't have a soul, but I do have a consciousness, and I get to play with this and enjoy it and utilize it for good ends for a little while longer. Number 4 is the Anchorhold, the reminder that my consciousness is trapped within me. It won't get away. It'll die with me. Absolutely, utterly. Never again. Next is the home of good and evil. Right and wrong, good and evil are concepts, subjective and personal, that we develop and maintain within ourselves. Excuse me, it's not like I latch onto some idea that permeates the universe and simply adopt it. No, I apply an idea against a universe that doesn't give a damn. I'll call these ideas good and bad and right and wrong. They are none of that outside of my subjective opinion. Sure, they become objective when they align with something measurable, but still it's not the universe offering assent to our ideas. It's our ideas conforming to the way the universe seems to work, which is a good thing. To be able to get that alignment, again with the objectivity, again with the skepticism. Next is the principle of purpose, and the sub-principle of biology, virtue, and mission. Biology is just the word I use to describe, making babies and raising them to adulthood, getting them out into the world. That's my first purpose. My second purpose is to be a virtuous man. I apply those equally because being a virtuous man contributes to the getting my kid out into the world successfully. If not, in fact, at least as a role model for a worthwhile way to live, even if that way of living leads us to nothing. Still a good road to oblivion. Every road is towards oblivion. Might as well go on one that's a little more sunny and open, even if the resources are less. The second principle is the purpose is virtuous. To be a virtuous man, where virtue is defined as the improvement of seeking the improvement and well-being of creatures, particularly thinking creatures. Next comes my mission, and my mission in life is to share. Share the story and the message of my book, Going Alone, which tells about the adventure of going deep into the empty desert for a season alone to witness what's not out there, and then come back and make a make a good life as a result. That's this good life creed that I'm talking about. It is the consequence of my adventure of going alone. That's my third purpose. Next principle is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, and it's all falling to pieces. some of it's coming back together for a while. Like every time when a new baby is formed in a mother's womb, that's a coming together. But eventually it'll begin to fall apart, sooner or later. Next comes the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, and it's good to recognize what that is. And then the pirate ride. Free will is an illusion, a very convincing illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. We do get to make our choices, but we're not making those choices in a vacuum in any way or alone. We are under the influence of the universe to a much greater degree than we may seem. So much so, in fact, that every decision we make is like a committee choice with all the universe behind us, in chorus, telling us which way to go, which decision to make, which idea to adopt or reject, whether we're going to have ham and eggs or an omelet. There's no decision that's too small or slight for the universe to participate in. The next principle is maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. We are mature when we wisely remember our past successes and failures and have the strength to do better. Then comes the social principle. We are social creatures. We need each other, and our best ends are social ends. And then public speaking, a reminder to be very careful about what I say or what I write, and to never ever gossip. And then temperance, the suggestion to control my consumption of all things, work and play and food and drink and recreation, all within limited measure. Maybe one less cookie than I wanted. And then the horror show. Life is a very frightening place, just chock full of terrible things happening all around us. And if not now, eventually to us, to a greater or lesser degree, the horror comes for everyone. The next principle is called that which must be borne. And what we have to bear is the fact of the horror show and the responsibilities that we've assumed in the course of our lives. Especially those responsibilities that relate to family and children. Next comes the Feast of Offal. That's a description of what we do when we get upset and we throw that upset out into the world and share it with everybody. It soils people. And we become soiled when we attend to the upset of others. It doesn't mean we can't be sympathetic and offer our kindness and have an attentive ear, but when we consume it like recreation, like a distraction, what is it, Schrödenfragen, the German word that describes, relishing in the upset of others, that does bad things to us. And I don't want to do that. I want to be there for those people when after they're done, letting it out, if they need something from me, if I can offer any help. And then also I want to not be the person that does that myself. I'd rather, like I said before, hold it in, keep it in. Find other ways to deal with the problems. And to make it a community thing. Next comes distraction. We distract ourselves through all kinds of ways so that we don't have to see a universe without God, or what I call the great indifference. And I choose not to do that distraction. I mean, I do it. I have that aforementioned beer before dinner, at dinner, and then while I'm watching Midnight Diner, which is a rerun, which I used to say was not a good use of time, but it makes me happy. And I don't have to see the great indifference then. So the distraction isn't something that I live to completely avoid. But I do want to tell myself at times to stop that and face down, the great indifference, which I think I've done enough of. Excuse me, it may be the reason why I don't seem to have much need to go to the desert anymore. I've not seen enough. I've not seen enough. I know that comes out with an opposite meaning, but I like that. I've seen enough of the stuff that isn't there. In other words. Okay. So I just did two principles. The principle of distraction and the principle of agency in the great indifference. Next comes the best seat in the house, to not want to be anyone else or be anywhere else or be doing anything else, but to be okay with the life that I've made and the man that I am and the circumstance that I'm in, all the while striving to make it better. Next comes the Path of Wildness. Is that right? Yeah. It's the way to move forward into a new life, to bust the bounds of this one, the inertia of this seated moment, this seated life, in favor of motion out towards a new life. Next comes the risk of avoiding risk. Life has the surface level risks of education, career, home, family, security, and then the deep risk of spending some time to find ourselves and to make our own life story, some centerpiece of our character and our story, in fact. You can have character without a great life adventure, but you may not get much of a story without it. Your own story, that is. If you don't have much of your own story, then you pick up the story of others, you know. You bless America, or you know, become a sports fan. You know, align yourself with the great party, whatever the case may be, or you know, swear your allegiance to God. These are ready-made identities that, you know, you can have if you don't have one of your own. I recommend giving it a try at making your own story, your own identity. Otherwise, you know, there's lots of shelf-bought stuff you can have. My suspicion, though, is the shelf-bought identity might sometimes, the hollowness of it might show through. And you might wind up like Harold, going back to the mailbox 30 minutes later, you know, where's that electricity bill? Damn electricity bill. Damn postman. Okay, so that was the risk of avoiding risk. The next principle is sin and damnation. And there are 7 sins in my worldview: falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority, and gossip. These all relate to being untrue, believing things for bad reasons, or talking about people behind their back. And the consequence of all of these things is kind of a damnation in the here and now. Next comes complete oblivion. After we're dead, we're gone forever. That means that we're not going to see anyone after we're dead again. We're not going to have any chance to reconcile any differences or seek after any justice. So we better do those things in the here and now while we're still around. No second chances after death. Next is the great life adventure. As I mentioned before, when you assuage the deep risk, you maybe present yourself an opportunity to create a great adventure of some sort that becomes your identity. I recommend that in the decade of the 20s, when you're still young and fit and full of and young, fit, and stupid, which are the perfect combination to yield something worthwhile that may be quite costly, but becomes an intangible nugget of self, our story. Something much greater than, a pledge of allegiance, or, go team, or praise God. You can have that, but you got to go after it early. Next comes the season of philosophy, which is just a time to record what we've learned along the way. Keep the journal open. Keep the light ready and the pen close by. Maybe strike while the morning is young, before the sun comes up, before you've even brushed your teeth. And when the muse comes, listen to what she says. Write down what she says, because she's leaving soon, and she's not going to say it again. At least not the same way. And form counts. What I mean by that is the way the candor, the way that the muse says things at a particular time, there's a spin and a nuance to it that if you miss that, even if you get the message again later, you might miss that spin. And there's something to that spin. That's what I mean. Next is the bullseye aim. We strive after the target in life, and we usually miss. The uphill climb, a reminder to keep stepping forward, keep the boots on. Up, 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 keep climbing, Kurt, don't stop. There'll be plenty of time for nothing after there's no more. And then nothing is enough. Reminder to try to get by with less. Maybe nothing's a little too harsh, but close to nothing is better. And then finally, the principle of fun, a reminder to have a good time in the here and now, in the moment, while also using hope to look forward and reflection to look back and remember the past. A photo popped up in my Google feed yesterday. It reminded me of this photo, like it says 16 years ago that day. Google's amazing in that capacity. And it reminded me of a village that I walked through in the high mountains, a misty village, where there were more snow monkeys in the village, seemingly, than humans. You know, one of those villages where all the young people are gone. Utter quiet of the place, and the monkeys watching me from the rooftops. And I saw one farmer down in his field. And then I passed a temple at the end of the village along the road, and Rokujizo, 6 Jizo Bodhisattva statues in a line, you know, which I passed as I left the village. I could have been a ghost walking through that village. Or the village could have been a village of ghosts, for all it seems. That's the sweet reflection back. You know, empty of the rumble in my stomach, because I was hungry that afternoon, and the sore foot and that I had, and maybe the rock in my one shoe, and the worry that I had over the work that I had to do that coming Monday. With that kind of a deep 16-year reflection, all that other stuff is just stripped away, and it's just the memory. So yeah, while I'm attending to the here and now, trying to do my job, be a good father, be a good husband, be a good citizen, and have some fun in the here and now. It's usually fraught with life. I can also look back and remember. There goes the dog. I better go. Today, full day of work. I'm ready to do it. Today, I have my principles at the ready. They're keen in my mind, and I will begin the day. Take care. Be safe, but not too safe.